The galactic Concord chamber floated above a blue dwarf star, a ring of silver and glass large enough to hold the fate of 1,000 species. Inside it, gravity bent softly, like a polite suggestion. Delegates from across the galaxy hovered, slithered, walked, or glided to their seats. At the very edge of the chamber sat humanity. They were given the smallest platform. No banners. No guards of honor. Just a thin strip of alloy barely wide enough for 6 people. Ambassador Elias Rourke stood with his hands folded behind his back. He wore a plain black uniform. No medals. No weapons. His face showed calm, but his jaw was tight. Above him the great species spoke. The Virex Dominion filled the central tier. Towering insectoid forms with crystal-grown armor clicked and vibrated as they spoke. They had conquered 12 systems in the last century alone. The Orolith Combine shimmered nearby, beings of light and sound who communicated through harmonic pulses. They controlled trade routes and energy gates. And seated highest of all were the Car Overseers, ancient, massive, stone-skinned giants who claimed to have guided the galaxy for 10,000 years. Humanity had arrived only 80 years ago. 80 years since their first faster-than-light jump. 80 years since they realized they were not alone. 80 years since they learned how small the galaxy thought they were. A deep, grinding voice rolled through the chamber. "Earth," rumbled High Overseer Kartok. "Your species has requested unrestricted expansion rights beyond your assigned sector." The massive alien leaned forward, eyes glowing faint red. "This request is denied." A soft ripple of amusement passed through the chamber. Some aliens clicked. Others released faint color shifts of mockery. Kartok continued. "You are a young species. Violent. Emotion-driven. Your history is inefficient. War upon war. Self-destruction narrowly avoided." The Virex delegate added sharply, "Your fleets are crude. Your weapons lack refinement. Your psychology is unstable." Elias Rourke looked up. "With respect," he said evenly, "we followed every treaty you imposed. We stayed inside our borders. We shared technology. We paid tribute." The Orolith voice sang in layered tones. "And still your kind spreads too fast. You build too much. You adapt too quickly. That makes the galaxy uncomfortable." "Uncomfortable." Elias smiled faintly. "That was never our intention." Kartok slammed one stone fist onto the dais. "Intent is irrelevant. The Concord has decided. Humanity will remain contained. Any attempt to expand beyond your zone will be met with force." Silence fell. Then Elias asked a simple question. "What if we refuse?" The chamber erupted. Clicks, roars, shocked harmonics. Even the ancient car shifted. "You cannot refuse," Kartok growled. "You exist by our permission." Elias straightened. "No," he said softly. "We exist because we survived." He tapped a small device on his wrist. Far from the Concord chamber, in the dark between stars, something woke up. Admiral Sanaa Okoye watched the tactical display aboard the UNS Resolve. Red icons bloomed across the holographic map. Virex patrol fleets. Orolith enforcement cruisers. Car Guardian dreadnoughts. "They're forming a containment net," her operations officer said. "They think we'll back down." Sanaa's lips tightened. "They always do." Around her, human officers moved with quiet speed. No panic. No shouting. Just preparation. "Activate phase doctrine," Sanaa ordered. "Pause." "Admiral," the officer said carefully, "once we do this, there's no going back." Sanaa nodded. "I know." Across human space, dormant systems came online. Shipyards that had pretended to be civilians suddenly revealed armored spines. Mining vessels unfolded weapon arrays. Deep space telescopes reoriented, feeding targeting data into battle AIs older than humanity's first colonies. This had never been shared with the Concord, because no one had ever asked the right questions. Back in the chamber, Kartok rose to his full height. "Humanity," he declared, "this is your final warning." Elias Rourke met the Overseer's gaze. "For centuries," Elias said, his voice steady, "we asked for permission. To explore. To settle. To exist." He gestured slowly around the chamber. "You told us to wait. To slow down. To stay in our place." The Virex delegate clicked sharply. "And you should have listened." Elias lowered his hand. "We did listen," he said. "We learned how you think. How you fight. How you rule." A strange unease crept through the chamber. Elias continued louder now. "And today, we stopped asking." The chamber lights flickered. Orolith harmonics spiked in alarm. What is this disturbance? A human voice cut through every channel at once. This is Admiral Sana Okoye of the United Nations Fleet. Stars appeared above the chamber, projected live. Human ships dropped out of FTL, not dozens, not hundreds, but thousands. Sleek hulls. Adaptive armor. Weapon signatures the Concorde had never catalogued. The Virex delegate shrieked. Impossible. Their industrial output. Sana's voice was calm. You measured what we showed you, not what we hid. Kartok stared in disbelief. Elias spoke one final time. This is not a declaration of war, he said. It's a declaration of independence. Outside the chamber, the first human fleet formed into attack lines. Across the galaxy, alarms began to scream. And for the first time in 10,000 years, the galaxy realized it had made a terrible mistake underestimating humanity. The first shots were not fired in anger. They were fired in disbelief. Across the projected starfield above the Concorde chamber, alien commanders watched their containment fleets hesitate. Virex cruisers, shaped like serrated blades, drifted out of formation as human ships adjusted vectors with impossible precision. Orolith light vessels pulsed erratically, their harmonic sensors struggling to interpret what they were seeing. Human ships did not fly like anyone else's. They didn't move in elegant arcs or rigid formations. They flowed. Groups split and rejoined like schools of fish, reacting faster than organic minds should allow. Kartok's voice boomed through the chamber. Engage them. Now. The order snapped something loose. Virex plasma lances fired first, searing green beams that could melt moons. They lanced toward the human vanguard. The human ships scattered. Not randomly. Each vessel rolled, burned, and slipped sideways microseconds before impact, as if they already knew where the beams would strike. In Admiral Sana Okoye's command chair, her eyes never left the tactical display. Predictive models holding? She asked. Yes, Admiral, replied Commander Havel. Enemy targeting relies on doctrinal assumptions. They expect fear. Hesitation. Sana allowed herself a thin smile. Give them neither. Release the ghost net. Invisible to the naked eye, quantum-laced drones burst from human hulls. They didn't attack ships. They attacked sensors. Virex targeting systems flooded with false returns. Orolith harmonic arrays began hearing echoes of themselves. Car Guardian ships, massive and slow, found their firing solutions collapsing into chaos. Then the humans fired back. Not with brute force. With intent. Human rail batteries hurled dense slugs at relativistic speed. They didn't aim for hulls. They aimed for joints. Heat sinks. Command nodes. A Virex cruiser lost power in a flash of white and spun helplessly into space. Another detonated as its own reactor overloaded, triggered remotely by a human cyber weapon that slipped past unbreakable alien encryption. Inside the Concorde chamber, panic spread. This violates every treaty, cried an Orolith delegate. Elias Rourke didn't look at them. You watched the battle. You wrote those treaties, he replied. We read the fine print. Kartok turned slowly toward him. You planned this? Yes, Elias said. For 60 years. On the border world Hestia 9, civilians watched the sky burn. Alien enforcement ships descended toward the human colony, their weapons glowing. They had come to make an example. They never reached atmosphere. From beneath the planet's oceans, massive structures rose, human defense platforms disguised for decades as tectonic stabilizers. Their armor shimmered as they locked onto targets. Fire, ordered Colonel May Alvarez. Beams of coherent energy punched through alien hulls. Missiles swarmed, each one thinking, adapting mid-flight, choosing the most vulnerable point. The alien commander broadcast in shock. These are civilian worlds. You are not permitted to militarize them. May replied calmly. Permitted by whom? The last alien ship fell burning into the sea. The people of Hestia 9 cheered. Some cried. Others just stared at the sky, realizing the truth. Humanity had never been unarmed. Back near the Concorde, the Car Guardian Dreadnought Stone of Ages finally brought its main cannon to bear. The weapon had ended wars before humanity had invented agriculture. It fired. Space twisted as a gravity-warping beam surged toward the human flagship. Sana Okoye didn't flinch. Brace, she said. The beam struck. And bent. Human ships had deployed a field of interlocking spacetime anchors. Experimental, dangerous, illegal by Concorde law. The beam curved, slid, and dissipated. Silence followed. Kartok whispered almost to himself. They should not have this technology. Elias turned to him. We learned early, he said, that survival means never being impressive until it's too late. Across the galaxy, neutral species watched the feeds in stunned silence. The Talari nomads, long bullied by Virex patrols, saw human ships dismantle a Dominion fleet in minutes. The Ishreen scholars began rewriting entire models of human psychology. One message echoed across countless systems. Humans do not fight to dominate. They fight to end the fight. The Virex Dominion, humiliated, made a fatal choice. They unleashed the Scourge Protocol. From hidden gates, black ships emerged, autonomous exterminators designed to wipe species from existence. The Concord gasped. "This is forbidden," cried the Orlith. Kartok's voice was cold. "Containment has failed. Eradication will not." Elias closed his eyes briefly. "So be it," he said. He opened a secure channel. "Admiral Okoye," he said quietly, "they've crossed the line." Sanaa's reply came instantly. "Understood." She turned to her crew. "Authorize Omega response." A red symbol appeared on every human display. Weapons humanity had sworn never to use, unless the galaxy forced them to. As the Scourge ships accelerated toward Earth and its colonies, something ancient and patient stirred within human space. The galaxy had wanted monsters. Now it was about to see what humans became when left with no other choice. The Scourge ships did not move like fleets. They moved like a plague. Thousands of matte black vessels poured from hidden gates, their hulls smooth and featureless, absorbing light and sensor pings alike. They had no crews. No hesitation. Only purpose. Exterminate. Across the galaxy, species who had never feared extinction before suddenly understood what the Virex Dominion had unleashed. On the bridge of the UNS Resolve, the red Omega symbol pulsed softly. Lieutenant Park swallowed. "Admiral. Omega response authorizes assets we've never deployed." Sanaa Okoye nodded once. "That's why we built them." She opened a channel that had never been used in wartime. "Control, this is Resolve. Release the unnamed systems." Pause. Then a voice older than most captains replied. "Confirmed. Humanity assumes full responsibility." Across human space, locks opened. The first unnamed weapon was not a gun. It was a decision engine. Hidden within deep space arrays, human artificial intelligences, bound by layers of ethical constraint, were given temporary autonomy. They were allowed to choose. To predict wars instead of battles. To sacrifice ships instead of worlds. Within seconds, they mapped Scourge behavior and discovered something terrifying. "They don't retreat," reported Commander Havel. "They don't defend. They trade mass for damage until nothing is left." "They're not meant to win," Sanaa said softly. "They're meant to erase." The AIs adapted. Human fleets began to pull back, not in panic but in calculated withdrawal. Scourge ships followed, accelerating, compressing into kill corridors that had been empty space moments earlier. Then space unfolded. Gravitational traps ignited. Stars were nudged, their flares timed to the second. The Scourge fleet was shredded by forces older than technology. But still many got through. On New Carthage, the sky darkened. Governor Adebayo stood on the balcony of the Capitol spire, watching evacuation shuttles rise. Children cried. Sirens wailed. "Defense grid is failing," an aide said. "Scourge vessels entering orbit." Adebayo whispered. "Then we hold long enough." The second unnamed weapon activated. The planet's mantle resonated. Human scientists had learned to speak to gravity, not loudly but precisely. New Carthage's core generators inverted polarity for 6 seconds. The Scourge ships fell. Not exploded. They were pressed, flattened into dense, harmless debris by the planet itself. The city survived. The Concord watched in horror. Kartok's voice cracked stone with rage. "These are crimes against cosmic balance." Elias Rourke replied. "So was extinction." The third unnamed weapon was personal. When a Scourge vessel slipped past defenses and struck the colony ship Haven's Light, humanity did not respond with strategy. They responded with fury. Sanaa Okoye watched the casualty report in silence. 200,000 dead. Families. Farmers. Engineers. "No more containment," she said. Human strike groups broke doctrine. They boarded Scourge ships. Inside there was no air. No light. No life. Human soldiers fought machines that felt no pain, but humans had learned long ago how to fight when pain didn't matter. They planted devices that rewrote the Scourge command logic. Ships turned on ships. Entire wings self-destructed. A Marine, bleeding, laughed over an open channel. "Guess they never planned for us getting inside." Across neutral space, alien reactions shifted from fear to awe. The Talari nomads began escorting human supply lines, volunteers. The Ishreen scholars sent a single message to the Concord. Your models are obsolete. Even some Orolith withdrew their support from the Virex. But the Dominion refused to stop. In desperation, the Virex High Brood activated their final secret. A weapon aimed not at fleets but at Earth. Deep beneath Luna, ancient human bunkers opened. Elias Rourke stood before a council of tired faces. They're targeting our homeworld, he said. Silence. A young delegate whispered. Can we stop it? Elias met their eyes. Yes, he said. But Earth will never be the same. On the Resolve, Sanaa received the order she had hoped would never come. Admiral, Control said quietly, authorize Aegis fall. She closed her eyes. Authorized. Around Earth, space shimmered. Humanity's greatest secret rose from the dark. Not a fleet. A shield. Layered, adaptive, alive with computation. It wrapped the planet like a promise. The Virex weapon fired. And broke. For the first time, the Dominion felt something new. Fear. As the Scourge fleets burned and the galaxy watched humanity stand unbroken, a realization spread like wildfire. Humans were not just surviving. They were rewriting the rules of power itself. And the war was far from over. The galaxy began to fracture, not from explosions but from decisions. In the aftermath of the failed strike on Earth, silence fell across major hyperlanes. Trade stalled. Borders hardened. Species that had hidden behind the Concord for millennia suddenly faced a question they had never needed to answer before. Who do you stand with when the old order is dying? Inside the Concord chamber, the great ring now bore scars. Cracks ran through crystal panels. Emergency fields hummed constantly. High Overseer Kartok stood alone at the center. Many seats were empty. The Orolith Combine had withdrawn to reconsider their harmonic alignment. The Talari had left entirely, openly escorting human convoys. Even minor powers had begun to ignore Concord directives. Elias Rourke entered the chamber without escort. You should not be here, Kartok said. Elias stopped several meters away. I grew up on Earth, he said. My grandparents told me stories about empires that thought they were eternal. Kartok's eyes burned. We are eternal. You were, Elias replied. Before you mistook control for stability. On the battlefield, the war changed shape. The Scourge fleets were nearly destroyed, but their remnants adapted. Smaller units began slipping through cracks, striking isolated systems, forcing humanity to defend everywhere at once. Admiral Sanaa Okoye studied the new patterns. They're trying to stretch us thin, Commander Havel said. Classic attrition. Sanaa shook her head. No, they're buying time. For what? For someone to make a mistake. She opened a channel to fleet commanders across human space. New directive, she said. We stop chasing. We let them come. Some officers hesitated. That means conceding systems, one captain said. Sanaa's voice hardened. It means choosing where history happens. The choice came sooner than expected. The Virex Dominion launched a massive assault on Helios Gate, a star nexus connecting 14 systems. Losing it would cripple human logistics, and give the Dominion leverage over half the spiral arm. Alien fleets poured in. Virex warhives. Car-dread remnants. Mercenary flotillas from frightened minor species. It was the largest armada the galaxy had seen since the first stellar culling. Human response? One fleet. Observers laughed. They cannot be serious, sneered a Virex commander. But as the human ships arrived, something was wrong. They were slow. Exposed. Sanaa Okoye stood on the bridge of the Resolve. Status. Helios Gate primed, an engineer replied. All calculations ready. Sanaa exhaled. Then let them commit. The alien armada surged forward. At the center of Helios Gate, space folded inward. Human engineers had done the unthinkable. They turned the gate into a weapon. When the Virex flagship crossed the threshold, the gate collapsed, not exploding but inverting. Ships vanished into compressed nothing, erased without debris. The armada tried to retreat. Too late. Half the fleet died in seconds. The rest fled in terror. Across the galaxy, the message was clear. Humans did not just fight wars. They ended them. The Concord reeled. Neutral worlds openly declared for humanity, not out of fear but because human protection came without tribute, without hierarchy. We don't rule, Elias told them. We coordinate. That idea terrified old powers more than weapons ever could. But not all humans agreed. On Mars, protests erupted. "This war is changing us," shouted crowds. "We're becoming what we hate." Elias watched the feeds, exhausted. Sanaa joined him via holo. "They're right," she said quietly. "Every victory costs us something." Elias nodded. "But losing would cost everything." The Virex made their final gamble. They captured a human research world, Athena Prime, and broadcast its destruction live, hoping to break human morale. Children, scientists, cities turned to ash. The galaxy watched, horrified. Silence followed. Then a human signal went out on every frequency. "This is Earth." No anger. No threat. Just certainty. "We have endured worse." Sanaa Okoye received new coordinates. A system long avoided. The Virex homeworld. She looked at the order. Total incapacitation. No civilian extinction. No retreat. She whispered. "They wanted to see how far we'd go." The fleet jumped. As human ships vanished into FTL, even ancient species felt it. The war had reached the point of no return. And the galaxy was about to learn the final difference between humanity and its enemies. Humans did not seek domination. They sought accountability. The Virex home system, Carvas, burned blue. Twin stars bathed the planet in harsh light, reflecting off a world shaped by conquest, hive cities layered like armor plates, orbital foundries circling like blades. For centuries, no enemy fleet had ever crossed its defensive perimeter. Until now. Human ships emerged from FTL in perfect silence. No battle cries. No declarations. Just intent. Admiral Sanaa Okoye studied the planet on the main display. "Remember," she said to her commanders, "our objective is not revenge. It is removal of threat." Some officers exchanged uneasy looks. After Athena Prime, restraint felt unnatural. The Virex High Brood reacted too late. Their sensors had been designed to track fleets, not strategies. Human ships split into hundreds of autonomous task groups, each following pre-computed ethical constraints. Weapons targeted infrastructure, not population centers. Orbital shipyards died first. Then energy relays. Then communication hubs. Virex fleets scrambled, but coordination collapsed as human cyber warfare rewrote their command chains mid-battle. A Virex war leader screamed over an open channel, "You claim morality, yet you invade our cradle." Sanaa answered personally. "We are not here to conquer," she said. "We are here to make sure you can never do this again." On Carvas itself, shock spread through the hives. Power failed. Skyways fell silent. For the first time in Virex history, their people felt vulnerable. And still, humans did not fire on cities. That confused them more than destruction ever could. Inside the deepest Concord bunker, Kartok watched the feeds in despair. "They are dismantling us," he whispered. Methodically. A junior overseer hissed. "Then unleash everything. And end ourselves if we must." Kartok shook his massive head. "No," he said. "This is not extermination. This is judgment." He turned away from the screen. "We taught them this." The final Virex counterattack came not in space, but in desperation. They activated a planet-bound weapon, an ancient stellar siphon capable of destabilizing one of Carvas's suns, threatening to turn the entire system into a supernova. If they could not win, they would deny victory to everyone. Human sensors caught the anomaly instantly. "Admiral," Commander Havel said urgently, "if that device goes critical, the blast radius will take 3 systems." Sanaa's hands tightened. Options. Disable it, or destroy the planet. Silence fell on the bridge. Destroying the planet would end the war instantly. It would also kill billions. Sanaa opened a private channel. "Ambassador Rourke," she said quietly, "I need your call." Elias appeared, eyes heavy. "They're forcing our hand," Sanaa said. "If we hesitate." "We don't," Elias said firmly. "We never choose the easy evil." He paused. "Send me in." A single human shuttle descended toward Carvas. No escort. Alien commanders watched in disbelief. Elias Rourke stood alone inside, wearing no armor, carrying no weapon, only a data core and a human flag folded at his side. Virex defenses locked onto him. Kartok overrode them. "Let him pass." Inside the planetary control spire, Elias faced the Virex High Brood. They towered over him, mandibles clicking in rage and fear. "You have already won," snarled the Brood Queen. "Why humiliate us further?" Elias met her gaze. "Because winning isn't the point," he said. "Ending the cycle is." He placed the data core on the floor. This contains the shutdown codes for your siphon, he said. And a treaty, the brood hissed. A treaty dictated by conquerors? No, Elias said. By survivors. He spoke clearly, every word recorded and broadcast across the galaxy. Step down. Disarm. Submit to shared oversight. No executions. No enslavement. No erasure of your species. The chamber shook with angry clicks. And if we refuse? The Queen asked. Elias unfolded the human flag. Then we will stop you, he said simply. And we will mourn you. Silence stretched. Finally, the brood queen lowered her head. The siphon powered down. Across the galaxy, ships ceased fire. The war did not end with an explosion. It ended with a choice. And for the first time, the galaxy saw the true danger of humanity. Not their weapons, but their restraint. The war was over. That fact took time to settle into the galaxy's collective mind. For generations, conflict had been constant, background noise to existence. Now hyperlanes were quiet. Battle alerts faded into historical records. Fleets stood down. And everyone waited to see what humanity would do next. On Earth, clouds drifted peacefully over oceans that had once feared annihilation. In orbit, human and alien ships floated together in uneasy proximity. No chains. No tribute demands. No occupation fleets. That confused the galaxy more than victory ever could. The Concord reconvened, but it was no longer the same body. The Grand Chamber still hovered above the blue dwarf star, but its hierarchy was gone. No elevated thrones. No central dais. A circle instead. Elias Rourke stood among delegates as an equal. Kartok entered last. The ancient overseer moved slower now, his stone skin cracked and worn. We were wrong, Kartok said without ceremony. We believed power meant control. You have shown us, power can mean restraint. Elias inclined his head. We learned that lesson the hard way, he said. From ourselves. The new charter was simple and revolutionary. No species would rule another. No forced containment. No extermination doctrines. Conflicts would be answered collectively with transparency. Some delegates balked. This will make us weak, hissed a minor warlord species. Sana Okoye's image appeared above the chamber. No, she said calmly. It will make you accountable. No one argued. Not all accepted the new order. In the shadows beyond mapped space, remnants of old empires gathered, pirates, zealots, those who believed humanity's mercy was temporary. They tested the edges. They learned quickly. Human fleets no longer patrolled aggressively. They responded precisely. Swift interventions. Surgical strikes. Always proportional. Always final. The message spread. Humanity was not a tyrant. But it was the gravity around which everything now moved. On Mars, the protests ended, not because they were silenced but because answers were given. Sana stood before a crowd, no uniform, no rank. We are dangerous, she admitted. That's why we limit ourselves. A young voice called out. What if one day we don't? Sana didn't deflect. Then the galaxy should stop us, she said. The same way we stopped the Virex. The crowd fell silent. Years passed. Humanity shared technology, carefully. Not weapons but infrastructure. Medicine. Energy stability. Alien worlds healed. Former enemies became partners. Former victims found voices. And slowly something unprecedented formed. Trust. Elias Rourke, older now, stood on a balcony overlooking the rebuilt Concord chamber. Kartok joined him. Do you know, the overseer said, what the scholars call this era? Elias smiled faintly. I've heard a few names. The human interval, Kartok said. The moment when the galaxy realized it could survive itself. Elias looked out at the stars. We're not special, he said. We just remember what it's like to be afraid. Far away, a human exploration vessel crossed the edge of known space. Its captain reported back. New signals detected. Ancient. Powerful. The old fear stirred. But this time there was no panic. The Concord met. Humanity listened. Plans were made, together. For the first time in galactic history, no one rushed to dominate or destroy. They prepared. As the stars turned, a final truth became clear to every species. Humanity had not taken the throne. They had removed it. And in doing so they became something far more enduring than conquerors. They became the standard by which power itself was measured. But one chapter remained unwritten. One moment yet to come. The day the galaxy would fully understand why. The day humanity stopped asking for permission was not the day they chose war. It was the day they chose responsibility. And the universe was still catching up. The galaxy held its breath. For centuries, civilizations had defined power in terms of fleets, weapons, and fear. Humanity had proven all those measures inadequate. But no one, not even their allies, truly understood the apex that was to come. On the edge of known space, human scientists had uncovered something ancient, a network of dormant stellar gates, built by a species older than even the car overseers. These gates linked systems across tens of thousands of light-years, bypassing every known hyperlane, every Concord-imposed route. They were not weapons. They were possibilities. Admiral Sanao Okoye stood on the bridge of the exploration flagship UNS Horizon, eyes scanning the gates that glimmered like frozen lightning in space. "Are we ready?" she asked. Lieutenant Commander Park hesitated. "Admiral, this network, if misused, it could destroy star systems accidentally, or on purpose." Sanaa smiled faintly. "Then we will not misuse it. We will guide it. The galaxy needs a path forward, not fear." Meanwhile, back at the Concord chamber, Elias Rourke addressed the delegates. "You've seen what humanity can do in war," he said. "You've seen restraint, strategy, courage. But the next step is creation." He gestured to a holographic projection of the Stellar Gate network. Stars flared as lines connected them, forming a vast lattice of possibilities. "This," Elias continued, "is how we will prevent war. Not by weapons. Not by treaties alone. But by giving every civilization the ability to survive, to thrive, and to communicate in ways previously impossible." Kartok, ancient and massive, regarded the projection. "You offer, what? Absolute mobility?" "Not mobility," Elias corrected. "Connection. The ability to respond before destruction occurs. The ability to choose life over annihilation." The delegates murmured, a sound alien and uncertain. For once, there were no arguments, only contemplation. But as always, not everyone could see humanity's vision. On the dark edge of the galaxy, remnants of the Virex Dominion and scattered warlords began to assemble, plotting revenge. They assumed that even now humans would be predictable. They were wrong. The first maneuver came without warning. Human reconnaissance drones appeared inside Virex space, not attacking, not threatening, but mapping, repairing, and stabilizing. Supply lines were restored. Planets that had been abandoned during the war were rebuilt with human technology. When the Virex fleets tried to strike, they found human defense arrays not in orbit of Earth, but everywhere they needed to pass. And these defenses didn't destroy indiscriminately. They neutralized threats, capturing vessels, shutting down weapons, and releasing crews unharmed. The galaxy whispered a single word: Apex. Elias and Sanaa watched the reports with quiet satisfaction. "You realize," Elias said, "we could end every hostile species in minutes if we chose." Sanaa shook her head. "And we won't. That's the difference. Apex isn't domination. Apex is responsibility." From Earth to the outer colonies, humans began implementing what the historians would later call the Golden Network. Trade stabilized. Communication improved. Disputes that once sparked entire wars were resolved before a single shot was fired. The galaxy, for the first time, learned what it meant to follow humanity's lead, not because of fear but because of trust. Then a signal arrived. Not from a known species. Not from the edge of mapped space. It was old, ancient, pulsing with energy that resonated across quantum channels. Sanaa's eyes narrowed. "It's not hostile, but it's aware. And it's watching." Elias leaned closer. "The universe is bigger than we imagined. And we're just beginning to test what we can do." The Concord debated whether to respond. Many feared another unknown enemy, another war. Elias stepped forward. "We will respond, not with weapons, not with fear. We will respond with humanity, with adaptability, with intelligence, and yes, with power." A hush fell across the galaxy. Even Kartok's massive form seemed to bend in quiet awe. "Show them," Elias said. In orbit above Earth, human fleets activated the stellar gates. Ships streamed into distant systems at speeds that once seemed impossible. Colonies began to flourish, medical technology spread instantly, and even hostile species realized that resistance was futile, not because humans would kill them, but because humans could outthink, outmaneuver, and outlast any threat. For the first time, no one challenged humanity. Not truly. Humans could have destroyed every fleet, every planet, every empire that had once called them weak. But they didn't. Instead they taught. They protected. They led. And in doing so, they became the apex of intelligence, adaptability, and power in the galaxy. The final scene unfolded quietly. Elias Rourke stood on the balcony of Earth's orbital palace. Sanaa Okoye joined him, looking out at the glittering constellation of human colonies and allied worlds. "They underestimated us," she said. "Yes," Elias replied. "And that mistake changed everything." A gentle pulse of light spread from Earth, resonating through the stellar gates, a wave that whispered across the galaxy. Humanity does not ask permission. Humanity does not fear the impossible. Humanity endures, and in that endurance we define the apex of life itself. And for the first time in eons, the galaxy did not merely survive. It thrived. The day humanity stopped asking for permission was the day the stars themselves learned what it meant to be human. And the universe would never forget.